and start recording. All right, so welcome everyone. As you all know, this is the point in time training. My name is Jessica Pauley. I work with the HMIS system, and I also deal a lot with the continuum. You guys know Cindy as well, with CEFS. Housekeeping, please make sure you're on mute if you don't need to say anything, just to cut down the background noise. If you have to take a phone call or anything for any reason, that's fine. This will be recorded and we can send that out to you if you miss a part or if somebody's absent today. All right, so a point in time count, what is it? COCs are required by HUD to plan and conduct a point in time count of homeless persons in our entire geographic area. We then have to submit that data to the HUD website. And our level of funding is based on the number of homeless individuals and families in our area. So it's very important to get an accurate count. Basically, the more homeless individuals, the higher level of funding we can get to help serve those individuals. All right, so what do we do first? We ask that you contact your local agencies that have previously given hotel vouchers to other homeless individuals to let them know you'll be contacting them on the day of the point in time count. We ask you also contact local law enforcement officials to let them know what we plan on doing and what day the count is. Contact local hotels in your area that have housed homeless individuals in the past to let them know you'll be contacting them on that day. And also to review the pit log for locations to visit during the point in time count. This year, we are adding a new form. This is called our risk factors form. I'm gonna pull it up real quick here. Cindy, can you see that new form? Cindy or Kelly? Anybody actually that can come up and see it?
We can see it.
Okay, good.
Yes, sorry, I was
That's
on
okay.
mute.
That's all right, thank you. All right, so this form, we are trying to get some more information about our first-time homeless individuals that are in our counties. So we came up with this form to speak to hotel and emergency shelter operators, just to kind of get their feedback on what they're seeing. So if you call a hotel that has previously housed homeless individuals, just go ahead and ask them these 5 questions. It's not very long at all. About what they're seeing as some of the biggest reasons for people becoming homeless. This will help us tailor our approach going forward to helping those individuals, and it also will help us get a better idea of the homeless population in our area. So this will just be used if you talk to somebody at a hotel about the homeless individuals that they may house. If somebody does not want to answer the questions, that's not a huge, it's not a big deal. It's fine. Just for those hotel operators that do would be great.
So only hotel, we wouldn't want to talk when we talk with Catholic Charities or other places. We don't want to get that information from them either.
You can, if they're housing individuals like in hotels, that's fine as well.
Okay.
We're trying to catch that first time group.
Okay, so mainly just hotels or other shelters. And Margot, this form was just emailed this morning.
Yes, we were tweaking it a little bit, trying to make sure that it worked for all the counties. So yeah, we had to make a little bit of adjustments on it, but. All right, I'm gonna pull back up the PowerPoint. All right, so this form, when you're calling about letting them know about the upcoming pit count, you would just complete that form. It's gonna, as we said, gain valuable insight on what factors associated to that first-time homelessness. And if you can, just go ahead and send that to Cindy and she can forward it to me, or you can email it directly to me. It doesn't matter, whatever's easiest for you guys, Cindy. So pit count changes from last year. This year, HUD is requiring both a sheltered and an unsheltered count, kind of like what we did in 2019. If you guys were here last year, we just did an observation count only for the unsheltered individuals we saw. This year, HUD is requiring that we actually speak with them and count them as we would normally do. So because of that, we're going to use the same pit form for both the sheltered and the unsheltered individuals. When canvassing the area, if you find a homeless individual, please try to ask all of the questions on the form. Please also be safe and keep that 6-foot distance and continue to mask up when you're speaking to individuals, just to keep everyone as safe as possible. And we'll continue to call local agencies to gain information on those sheltered individuals, the same as we've been doing for the past several years. So in preparation for the count, what do we need to do? We need to make copies of the pit survey. Also have your pit log completed for each staff member and discuss kind of a plan of where each staff person is going to go, and then make a plan as to who is counting at what time and what area. This helps us to make sure we're not duplicating the count and counting the same person multiple times, or counting the same area, several times at the same time. During the count, safety is our first priority. Due to COVID-19, we're asking that when you do approach someone you believe is homeless, to please keep that 6 feet of distance and to wear a mask. And the pit survey form will be used to record that information. Please write legibly on there. And then on every form, please write on every space. If there's something that's not applicable, put NA or cross through it, but please on every line, make sure that you fill that in, including the agency, the county, the region, and the person completing the survey. For CEFS, your region would all be central. And then there's also 2 other regions in our continuum as well, but you guys would all use a central region. And then in order to make the form easier, we've continued to use the check boxes on many of the things instead of to fill in the blank on everything. Questions that we have on the point in time count are very similar to last year. Where are they staying tonight? How many people are staying together, trying to get the household size, their name, their best way to contact, and their contact info. If there are multiple ways to contact that information or that individual, please include those on there as well. Birth date, gender, ethnicity, race, disability information, domestic violence information, veteran information, and chronically homeless information. And we'll look up at that survey in just a second. We'll pull it up. If an individual is staying in a hotel or a motel that was paid for by a church or another agency, it's extremely important that we fill out the sponsor information, which includes the name of the agency or the church paying for that hotel, the address of that agency, a contact name and a phone number, and then towns that that agency serves. If it's a very large agency that serves multiple towns and multiple counties, you could just put the county there. You wouldn't have to list specifically every town they serve unless they only serve 1 or 2 towns. County is fine right there as well. And for the chronically homeless question, in order to be able to mark that they are chronically homeless, they must also be disabled. Plus, they have to have one of these requirements. So we will ask if they've slept in any of the locations listed in question 1 every night for the past year. That question is asking if they've been homeless for the last year, for the entire year. Or we'll also ask the question, or have you slept in any of those locations listed in question 1 for 4 times or more in the past 3 years? That question, we're trying to see if they've been homeless for at least 12 months in the past 3 years. But if they don't have a disability, then you wouldn't check that box. So our pit count will be on January 26th.
Hey, Jess, quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just out of curiosity, do we ever have very many? I know we don't have, it's hard for us to prove a lot of our chronically homeless, but do we ever have anyone that openly shares that, yes, they do have a disability? And I don't think I don't think CEFS has ever been able to mark chronically homeless on the point in time count. So I just wondered if
I would
anyone
say out of the whole count last year, we had, I believe, around 100 individuals, and maybe 2 were chronically homeless.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the times it's from the shelter. So when we work with Haven, they are continually back in the shelter.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah. Okay.
That was just a couple, but not very many. Yeah. It's hard to prove it.
Yeah. Thanks. I just think that there's a lot of times people don't want to share that they have a disability.
Right.
And so I thought that might be hard to prove. But
right. And that brings up a good point too. If somebody's not willing to share any of that information on the form, that's completely fine. It's just whatever information they'll give us. We do ask, especially for someone who's not willing to share their full name, try and get their initials. If they won't provide that, then write down some kind of identifying information about them, so we can hopefully not duplicate that count with other individuals. So maybe they were sleeping in a red sleeping bag on the corner of whatever street. The more specific you can be, the better when we're tallying all these up. Ideally, we would like to have coverage from sundown to sun up on the night of January 26th. We suggest counting in 4-hour blocks. I know that Cindy works with you guys. You guys have a different system set up with that. So that's fine. We will also need individuals to contact local churches and agencies ahead of time, just to let them to see if they've placed anyone in a hotel or motel for that night. And it's also helpful to make a schedule for who will be canvassing in what areas. And it's the same as last year. With our count, we're able to count up to 7 days afterwards for somebody that was homeless on the 26th. So say you have someone come into your outreach office maybe on January 28th. You are able to ask them on the 28th where they slept on the 26th. And if they identify that they were homeless, you can turn them in as a pit count person. So just keep that in mind with those individuals that are coming to your outreach offices the rest of that week. Forms, I need the forms back by February 10th. So Cindy asked to get those to her by the 7th. So she has time to get those to me, please. All right, so we'll open up the floor for questions and I will get the forms pulled up. So does anybody have any questions? So this.
It looks like there was a question in the chat. Amy in Fayette asked, could we use this when talking with ministerial alliances or the local police department, sheriff department?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the more information we can get, the better. We kind of started small with that, but if you've got somebody that you think would be good at providing that input, absolutely. We will take all the input we can get.
She was asking in regard to the risk factors form.
Okay, yeah.
And so, yeah.
If you could, if it's somebody that maybe just write on the top, like what they're, what position they're from, if it's a ministerial association. I don't believe we have a blank in there for where that information is coming from. So just make a note on the top, but yeah, that'd be great. All right, so this is the PIT survey form. This will be used for anyone who is sheltered. So we count that as anybody staying in a hotel, motel, church, anything like that. Somebody sleeping inside a building is sheltered. We will also use that for unsheltered individuals. So people staying outside or in places not in human habitation, cars, all of that. Very similar to last year. We do have the check boxes here. Again, as specific as you can would be great. So if they're staying outdoors, maybe they're on the sidewalk next to the gas station. Please write, which sidewalk, where that's at, which gas station that is. As specific as possible. The sponsor information right here is for if somebody's being in a hotel that's paid for by a church or another agency. Please fill that out for the agency providing that hotel stay. This is for the household composition, how many people are adults, how many are children that you see or that are in that household.
They're not gonna work tomorrow.
And then each of the individuals will need to have one of these boxes filled out. And again, if they will not provide some information, that's fine. Just whatever information they'll provide us. But it just kind of goes through with all of the different questions we discussed earlier. If there's any notes or other identifying characteristics that you'd like to put on there, that's, use that note section. If you have a family that's larger than 4 individuals, you can go ahead and just fill out another form, and attach them together. We will possibly have some larger households. Any questions on the PIT survey form? And then we'll do one more. I'll show you the PIT log. And this kind of you can use the best way for you guys. Previously, in some of the other counties, we've made a list of locations to go to. So maybe ahead of time, you would fill out, the name of the location, the address, and then on the day of the PIT count, you would go, the time you went there, and if you found any individuals or not. It just kind of gives you a game plan, sort of strategize what your plan is going to be during that day. All right. Cindy, do you have any questions, or are there any more questions that have popped up?
I am not seeing any.
Here, I'm going to also share my cell phone number. If you are on the day of the pit and you have some questions, feel free to reach out to me if you've got anything. Or Cindy's got my email address as well if you need anything, Cindy. So. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.